Right, she was gonna come to the last meeting. Okay, so, Greg is on vacation. So I think we'll go ahead. You have the roll.
I do.
And I assume we have no citizens petitions. There's nobody on besides Meredith.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like there's anyone.
Okay. So we're on to approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved unanimously. I assume there's no communications and bills, reports, consultant reports, changes to sewer use, no attorney's reports. I guess no public works director's report, unless are you filling in or for that, or
Yeah.
and you can then go on to the facility report.
Okay, I don't have
You know, can I suggest maybe we should introduce ourselves to Meredith? Like,
I
other
know
than
who
me,
you are, John,
he is.
Thank you, good suggestion.
and I know who Hugh is.
Right. Well, I'm Laura. It's nice to meet you, Laura Ballard.
Laura.
I'm Laura Ballard.
Laura. Nice to meet you too.
So Meredith, just
Should
to
introduce
check,
yourself.
sorry,
so I'm Harry Clark. We talked on the phone and by email.
Oh, yes.
That would be me. I'm Harry.
And
I gotta
I'm
come
Melissa,
down and see the works.
Yes.
and then I'm Melissa. I'll be the one that sends you the agenda
Yes.
packet a month before the meeting.
And how do you pronounce your last name, Melissa?
Rui.
Rui, thank you.
and Meredith, you got the agenda packet for today.
I did,
Okay, good deal.
and I've read it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so.
I just should say one thing.
Yeah,
On the approval of the minutes, I should have said I abstain. I wasn't there, so I don't think I can vote to
Sure.
approve.
makes sense.
Okay, so I'll just roll the public works and the weapons control reports together.
Okay,
So we didn't have our last month's meeting, so and also I guess sort of roll January and February together. So the treatment plant is still functioning well, but we did have some permit exceedances to report to DEP, particularly in January when we had those heavy storms. We did have some mostly suspended solids exceeding the limit, discharging. They get reported. I want to say they're not significant, but they're not like close the day or anything. We weren't able to meet our nitrogen limit either because of the process was operating. We were at 188 pounds per day, and our goal was 153 pounds per day. And that's not a violation. That's just that's the goal. Where that's the money line, whether if you pay or collect.
So we had to pay?
No, it's annualized.
Oh, annualized, okay, right.
So it's a small blip. We'll make it. So we have vacant positions. We have the operations supervisor that's vacant. The equipment operator position is vacant, and the plant operator position is vacant. Travis Comeau, who'd been an operator there started in 2001. He retired in February. Or resigned, I shouldn't say retired. He resigned. One of the reports to the DEP was an equipment failure. One of the secondary clarifiers, circular clarifiers, failed. We came in the morning and it had over torqued and the catwalk was a little tweaky, which is similar to what happened to the primary clarifier. which was the rotted center column. In this case, it was just stopped by a 2x4 stuffed under the scrapers.
Oh, wow.
It got in there and it locked it up solid. But it did twist the catwalk a little bit, so that was just down for a week or so. Projects, primary firefighter 1, we were still waiting to go out to bid, place that out to bid. The design is complete. Gravel Street Pump Station renovation, that is underway. I would say, I would guess, close to 75%, maybe somewhere between 60 to 75%. Mumford Cove Pump Station is still in planning phase with the engineers. Burgess Park, we have 2 projects there. One's the generator replacement, which is now, delivery is pushed out to May. The moving target there. And Westertown Road generator project also. The Northwest Interceptor inflow study is actually going on right now. They did some testing over the last week during the rainstorms. Highlights of the plant and the facility. Any questions or?
Yeah. Any question?
No, I don't know enough to ask any questions yet.
It does help to have the tour. I took the tour a few years back. It was excellent.
Yeah.
I'll email you then, Harry, to set one up.
Okay.
Thank you. Unless you want to do it at this meeting and
Oh, no, it's
No,
it's a good hour and a half.
Yeah.
no, I mean, set it up now. I mean,
Oh, set it up?
sure. If you want me to email you tomorrow, I'll do that.
Yes, if you could email me, that would be easier.
I will do that. Thank you.
It's a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like understanding how things work.
Yep. Okay, I don't think I have a chairman's report, and so I guess we're on to old business and Beard and Mr. Cheese.
So I went to their site this week.
We're not expecting them online, right?
We would know.
Yeah, we would know by now.
Okay, guys, I couldn't find the. Okay, go ahead.
So Aaron from
Yep.
Beer Brewery, he has procured and it's on site, the monitoring manhole, which is pretty decent equipment. That's what I probably would have asked for. It was my choice. So we're gonna meet out there tomorrow morning and go over the site layout, where it's gonna install it and that sort of thing. So this manhole has its own flow measuring fluid at the bottom of it, large enough where we can place our sampler in there easily. It's got a flow meter, permanent flow meter, so that we can tie into that for the flow basin sampling. And it looks like a nice solid piece of equipment.
Will this take care of the cheese place as well, or?
It doesn't, it's only gonna be mounted on.
I wonder if maybe we should give Meredith a little bit of a summary of the whole Beard situation. It's been going on for so long.
Yeah,
Maybe we
I can
could,
try if you'd like, you know.
maybe we wanna,
Well,
well,
And just to, I'll give a quick overview.
yeah, that's what I thought. You know, I'm not talking about like an hour or
Yeah,
so.
no. 3 minutes.
okay.
So Beer Brewery is, they built a brewery over on Leonard Drive near the airport. And somehow got through the cracks about industrial wastewater discharge. So over this time period, we've been kind of going back and forth on what to do, what we can do, what we can't do, the costs of such things. But really by our ordinances, industries are, they're generators of high volumes or high strength sewage, are considered as, we call it an exception spreadsheet where we track their strength and their volume so that we can bill them appropriately in accordance with our ordinance. So somehow Beard Brewery had gotten installed and built and operating before it became known to us. So we've been going back and forth for a while over what to do, and hopefully it looks like we're getting at least to the finish line with the brewery. There's also next to it a cheese company, and they're in the same situation where they generate very high wastewater. And so we'll be looking to have a similar setup with them as soon as we can.
And did they both get grants? They both got grants from
Access to,
ARPA funds.
ARPA funds to rectify the situation, so that has sort of advanced the situation, because they were both, I think it's fair to say, dragging their heels about doing anything about the situation before they got the money.
Although only Beard was funded for this monitoring, right? Mystic Cheese, I thought, was funded, they needed to.
Side stream?
But,
I-
well, they were funded, they needed stainless steel piping because
Oh,
of
right.
the, because they're regulated as a food. And so the meat Department of Agriculture, I guess, FDA requirements, they had to make changes, they had to have stainless steel piping. But they weren't installing a manhole, right? It was just on the,
I'm guessing, yeah, you're correct there. I overlooked the stainless steel piping proposal. They're in the same boat and need the same equipment. It's,
in terms of the
in
flow
terms of
monitor.
monitoring, right, so we can build them fairly.
Okay,
So-
so I don't think that's ever been part of the
Part of this.
discussion.
So that means that if the brewery gets its act together, we still have to deal with Mystic Cheese. Too bad they couldn't have consolidated it somehow.
So the other thing you should know is the two businesses are in one building and the sewage outflow, it becomes a combined outflow. So
Gotcha.
part of the problem has been that we didn't have an easy way to differentiate what was coming from one business versus the other.
Right.
So they're installing this monitoring manhole before the sewer flows combined.
Mhm.
Yes, they're installing it on their connection.
And the other thing is that I think to a certain extent, they're almost one business, because if you go into the brewery and you want food, you're getting it from Mystic Cheese.
Well, they are not one.
I know they're not. I know they're not officially, but they're sort of work together.
Yes, they're working together, but let's not confuse things. They are legally two businesses.
Well, I know, but there's.
Well, it's so different than every business buys supplies from every other business.
Yeah.
Are they the same operators or owners?
No,
They're
no, they're
owned
different.
by different owners.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yes, it's true. I mean, if you go to the Beard Brewery at, in Stonington at the Velvet Mill, they also, have arrangements to sell food that are made by another
Right.
restaurant.
I'm not saying it's illegal or anything, I'm just pointing out that they do sort of work together.
No, that's why I asked the question, were they same owners? Because then I could really understand why they want to differentiate.
Right.
Right, no, they're two different owners.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay,
On the other hand, there's one landlord, when you think about it.
well, it's one building.
Right.
Right, so it's been a difficult situation because of two businesses with two different owners, one landlord, one building, and the combined sewer outflow from the one building. So, you talked to Beard, has there been any communication with Mr. Cheese recently?
No.
Okay, so can you follow up with them where they stand?
Yep.
As
As far as wastewater, I don't think they're anywhere.
But my understanding was we sponsored, let's say, them, or can't we say that, in terms of getting the ARPA funds? And our concern was that the wastewater be dealt with, not his EPA regulations or whatever it is.
Stainless steel piping, I don't remember, I'd have to go back and read the minutes
Yeah,
or the materials, but it was in order for him to, maybe it was in order for him to side stream, he had to replumb things.
right.
And in order to replumb it, he had to have $18,000 in stainless steel piping.
Did
Well,
he get
it-
50?
Recollection. Well, so I'm not sure, I think they did get a lot
Yeah.
more, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that additional money was for.
Right.
Is there a way, now, if we will know, once Beard has their thing, how much they're putting out, is there a way to get the total from the building and subtract out what Beard measures as its own? So that we know, I mean, that would result in a pretty good idea of what the cheese company's putting. Can you do that? Or-
Well, yes, I mean, so we have one manhole sampler, so we could sample out of the Beard Brewery. We couldn't do the samples at the same time. So then if we did a sample downstream where they're both joined, we'd need another sampler if we wanted to try to catch the same flow stream. And we could do like 1 day's worth on Beard and then 1 day's worth on the combined.
Right.
And then
Well, that should give you a pretty good idea, shouldn't it?
I don't think these guys
I,
discharge continuously. I think they're
So
slow.
maybe you have to do it several times over the course of like a month to take sort of representative samples over a period of time.
but wasn't the idea that this,
Yes, it was.
so I'm gonna hope that it's just that we haven't chatted and that he had to deal with one thing first and that next intention.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't remember them ever saying anything about it. I mean, I think Beard did, but
Beard did, yeah, I don't think Mr.
Yeah,
Cheese
'cause I
ever
think-
did.
To interject, I think Beard's biggest problem was from the start that he doesn't want to pay for the sewer based on the water in because the water that's staying in the beer, and that's why he got the flow meter so that he can get an accurate. Well, I'm only actually, I got
right.
8,000 cubic feet of
Right.
water going in, but I
Right.
only got 2,000 cubic feet going
But
in.
he's exempted now from worrying about that, because of that statute that exists.
But he doesn't,
Really? Yeah, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we don't have to obey it.
Yes.
There's, just so you know, that somebody snuck in a provision in state law that said that you can't estimate the amount of usage of a brewery by the amount of water that flows into the brewery. You have to measure what's coming out.
This
But
was
there's-
in
Yeah, no, I understand that
Right,
because
but there's no requirement that there be a measure going out. They don't mandate that the brewery actually has something like that. So,
that's crazy.
yeah, well, I mean.
I mean, I can understand why you can't use the water coming in as a measurement because after all, as Laura said, no, Melissa said,
Yeah.
some of that coming in is used to make beer. It doesn't go out, all that goes out is what's left over. But it's amazing that they wouldn't require some kind of metering of discharge.
Well, I ran this whole thing by Betsy Ritter at some point, and she used to be in the legislature. And they have a word for it. It's something that somebody sneaks in that the other legislators don't really know about. And so it gets passed without anybody really being aware of it.
Right.
You know, so the brewing industry got it in there somehow. Because I would assume that there's some way of estimating based on the amount coming in, what's likely to be going out. You know,
There are some standards, I think, from what I've read, if I remember correctly, it's like 7 units in to create 1 unit of beer. So that would be
6 units out.
So if there's no statute requiring a brewery to have a meter of discharge, how does the town impose that?
So we didn't impose it, but in our discussions over the last 2 years that this has been going on, we discussed this issue and they proposed, and we supported, they put in a proposal for ARPA funding to obtain this manhole that would allow that to have a flow meter, so they will be metered for the volume of flow out, right?
What I guess what I was wondering, and maybe I don't mean to be taking up time that you don't need to have taken up. If there's no legislative requirement, then the WPCA is relying on the willingness of a business in town that is unregulated by state statute or by ordinances to do the right thing and say, we'll pay for the use of our use of the sewerage system. Is that right?
I think we had some way of coming up with an estimate that we were threatening them with pretty high fees if they didn't do something about the situation. And we had, I think it's fair to say, we had a legal basis for making.
I see. Okay. Curious. I just wanted to understand. Thank you.
And this only applies to breweries.
Right.
The law was specific about it being about breweries. So for Mystic Cheese, we can build them based on the water, because there's separate water metering in, right?
Yeah.
It's the sewer coming out that is the combined. And so the issue for Mystic Cheese will be how we monitor.
So there again, there's an issue because he's bringing in milk.
Right.
His product is
Right.
milk, so he's using water to clean up and stuff, but I don't think that's going into cheese. So whatever, and I don't know much about the cheese making process and how much is wastewater generated from whatever they do.
Well, but virtually in cheese making, you're not putting water into your product.
That's what I'm saying, we can't fairly bill on the water meter
Why?
because it's not really a lot of water going into the cheese.
But isn't the
No,
issue with
but
him
all
is
the water-
his
It's wastewater.
his wastewater?
Right.
That's the issue with him.
Right, but so anything, I mean, if he brings in a truckload of milk and creates cheese,
Oh,
there's something drained off of that. I don't know the
I
process
see
of
what you're
correct
saying.
phrasing.
Isn't that called whey? Isn't that the
I
whey?
think that's what.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the liquid, right.
The way it's liquid. Okay, yeah, I hadn't thought about that would underestimate the flow out.
And that's really crazy strong stuff as
And,
far as wastewater.
right.
Mm.
And
But at
Meredith,
least
that,
you can say that the amount of water going in is not greater than the amount of water going out. So, I mean, you know, with beer, it's the other way around. They can say, well, look, a lot of the water that comes in, you can't base it on that because it doesn't all go out. But with the cheese company, it sounds like it's exactly the reverse. More goes out than comes in.
Right.
So it's not as harder to argue that it's unfair to base your estimates on the amount that goes in.
So Meredith, what I learned through this process was, wow, these happen to be two businesses that produce a tremendous amount of wastewater that's
Right.
been anticipated. So,
Yeah. Did the WPCA have a similar kind of issue with the Otter Banks Brewing Company on Bridge Street?
much smaller.
That's in the city of Groton. That doesn't come to our.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay.
And in
Okay.
Stonington,
Yes, I know it's in the city. I just
Not-
didn't really. wasn't
Beard
thinking-
in Stonington apparently is not asked to,
They're just dumping
you.
and
Yeah.
they're just dumping it in and nobody cares.
right.
The people
Oh,
who
God.
think they don't care.
Okay, so, I think it would be good if we all went back and reviewed the minutes for what was the discussion with both Mystic Cheese and Beard. I guess I have one more question in terms of monitoring to measure the strength of the effluent. So, once Beard installs that manhole, then you can do the monitoring, you'll have the flow and the monitoring for Beard. So that provides a way to bill them. On the Mystic Cheese side, we don't have a way to measure either the flow or the strength.
Right.
And so all we have is the ability to measure still the combined outflow that includes both Mystic Cheese and Beer.
Right.
And how expensive is the equipment for sampling in the manhole?
I don't know. We can talk to Aaron tomorrow.
No,
So you don't know how much he spent on that unit that you looked at?
Right.
Okay, that wasn't what I meant.
Oh.
The equipment you need to monitor, because you said you only have the equipment to monitor one manhole or the other, either Beard's manhole or the combined manhole.
Right.
And how much would it cost us to buy?
I would say 9,000 to 10,000.
Okay, so I think we need to understand, because both of them were talking about doing side streaming. The issue, as I recall, for Mystic Cheese was they couldn't change their plumbing to do the side streaming until, they had stainless steel piping and could get FDA, certification because they're regulated that way. And so, I think, the purpose was to reduce the strength of both the sewage outflow from both businesses. But it appears we have sort of a more complete ability to monitor the situation on the Beard side than on the Mystic Cheese side. But we have no idea which, what the relative contributions to businesses were.
Is there a reason why you can't just do a subtraction? You're going to know how much the brewery discharges, and you do know the total amount of discharge that they jointly. Can't you just subtract the one from the other, and you'd know what the discharge from the cheese company was amounted to?
We perhaps could imagine doing that, but I think where Harry was going about, ideally, you'd like to do that by monitoring
Oh, I
both
understand.
in both outflows simultaneously.
I'm just
And-
wondering if a way for the town to get paid for service it provides to the cheese company could be done, even if the cheese company doesn't put in its own monitoring unit, and it might get irritated enough that it would say, well, I'm not gonna have you doing what's guesswork, I'll put in the monitor and then you'll be set with both of them. I just wondered.
Yeah, it seems to me that's maybe we should run that by the town attorney, because it seems to me that if we did sufficient number of sampling, we were able to say that we have a, mathematically close amount, we could start, I mean, if we start billing them, that it's real money. If I remember correctly, if we actually bill them for how much we could theoretically charge them, it would be a real incentive for them to do what we want them to do in the first place.
Right.
So, maybe it would be a good idea to run, see what the town attorney has to say about whether or not we can go ahead and try to bill that in that fashion. Assuming that, I guess maybe we should find out from Mystic Cheese first what their plans are, whether they have any plans to do anything. I mean, they both have sort of classically just dragged their feet about this whole thing. I mean, it's been going on so long. In fact, I think it's more than 2 years. I think it's 3 or 4.
Well, 2020 was
Yeah.
the COVID, and it's around then when this, I mean, it started before that. So anyway, okay, so you're going tomorrow to, Beard,
Yes.
and, so that's moving forward, and so we need to know what's up with Mr. Cheese. And we need to review what was in the minutes. And so,
I also wonder how Beard might react after having made the investment, to just sort of winging it to figure out what Mystic Cheese is producing.
Oh, you mean like we're paying for,
We invested,
well, they probably wouldn't like it
no,
until, I mean, it's no skin off their nose, because it's not gonna change the amount that they would have to pay.
Yeah.
But, until we get Mystic Cheese to shape up,
Mhm.
I suppose actually that it's better than, from their perspective, it's probably better that Mystic Cheese has to step up and spend more money than they do at the moment. Because they're not really paying any kind of excess charge at all at the moment, right?
no access charge, right, they're
Right.
not paying the high strength charge.
Right.
They're both paying based on the metered water usage, right? Okay, so we have some unresolved things, so we'll get an update next month. And we all should review what had been in the ARPA proposals and what we supported, because we did vote to support them. Anyway, but we need to know what's up with Mystic Cheese, because money was dispersed to Mystic Cheese. I remember that from the minutes a few months ago when, the ARPA coordinator for the town.
Well, it's
had talked
dispersed
to
as
Greg.
they spend it, right? They're
Right,
reimbursed.
It was,
once- yes.
it was dispersed to whomever they were.
Yeah,
Wasn't one of them getting a truck?
I believe that was Mystic Cheese, he was trying to get a truck so he could haul his own
Oh,
way to that
okay.
place in Hartford. If I
Oh,
remember the minutes correctly,
Yeah. that's
he
what-
was trying to legitimately not
Ah.
put any of it down the sewer
Ah.
outside street.
okay.
Right, so I
maybe-
think we need to be a
yeah,
little
yeah.
careful here about, impugning people's
Yep.
Maybe-
Things
So we
have
need to
been
find out whether or
slow.
not he's been implemented that.
Right, so we need to find out what's up with Mr. Cheese. But we also need to go back and review what, they have proposed to do and make sure we understand. I will look into that for the next, so hopefully I can help, more.
And-
Well, if you do look into it, could you sort of send us an email before the next meeting to let us know what you find?
So,
Oh, that's right, you can't do,
Yeah.
but you can send it to her and then she can send it to everybody. Can't you?
yes. But I don't know that I want to try to summarize it. I'll
Okay.
see. What I am certainly willing to do is to go back into my tracking Excel spreadsheet and find out what meetings the minutes have relevant information and where the relevant information is to make it easier for you guys to find it.
And didn't we have a 90-day agreement that, funds were dispersed and then in 90 days we would meet? And then we put that off as a courtesy? Yes.
Right, so the original was 90 days, but then it turned out that, it was a reimbursement rather than a dispersal.
They were struggling with.
Right. So I don't know I know my recollection is the lawyer did send them an email, but what it said at this point, I don't know. So Meredith, the issue that we were just sort of referring to about, emails has to do with the state's FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And so emails that contain substantive as opposed to just administrative.
Right.
Your email response that you're going to attend the meeting. Emails that contain substantive information can be considered a public meeting that has not been announced.
Right.
And so I'm going to forward to, or send to you, I looked up to find, we had the town attorney, now I'm blanking on his name, of course, anyway, come and talk to us about, for sort of a half hour, I think it was in 2022, but I will send you an email just to you with with the YouTube link, so you can watch. It's the first half hour of that meeting when the lawyer is going.
Okay. Thank you.
So but the main thing is just, don't send out emails and don't have email discussions with all the, members of the WPCA, because that could be considered a
Gotcha.
meeting. It's fine if it's, are we meeting tomorrow, kind of thing.
Right. I understand.
And yeah, you're allowed to send out the information to all of us.
That's what I was gonna say, if you have a list of like the meeting dates, I have them all, I can attach them all to one email if you wanted to send me that information.
I'll send you the information about what the dates were, and there were several documents that they shared with us. And,
I'm looking at October 2020 and we were in the thick of it.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the minutes for the meeting that would have been held on, in, I guess, March of 2000, of last year.
Mhm.
And it says that they both had been approved for ARPA funds. And Mr. Hanover let the authority know that an email had been sent letting both businesses know that per the agreement, they have 90 days from the approval date to have the side streaming complete. So the funds were for side streaming.
Yes.
But now you're saying that they were actually used to pay for.
No, the funds were well, the funds for for the brewery,
No, this is for both. That's what it says.
I know, but I've read the proposals, although not recently,
Okay. All right.
okay? So the money to buy this monitoring was for beer, the manhole for monitoring, was included in their ARPA funds. There was, I believe, additional money in the beer proposal that had to do with the side streaming. The Mystic cheese, at least initially, was entirely about the side streaming and their need to have FDA approved, stainless steel piping in order to, because they're a food establishment. Now, I believe the amount of money approved for Mystic cheese for ARPA was larger than that. I think it was 18,000. And I don't know offhand what the additional money was for. You're saying there was that they were gonna look for a truck to,
I remember that being in the minutes a
so,
while back.
that may be what was in the ARPA, I don't know. So it's complicated, and anything you read that says it's a simple thing is wrong. At least incomplete. Wrong is the wrong term.
Yeah.
It's partial description.
Hmm.
But yes, they were both going to be side stream. That was the goal.
Well, I just did a search of the 2023.
Okay, I don't think it's useful for us to try to sort it out now at this meeting.
Mhm.
I think we need to all go home and do our homework, and you can search however you want to search. I will search my information, send it to Melissa so
Searching for
that
the word truck.
Oh,
she can send out, at least what I find in terms of dates when we have information about, both what they were proposing to do and what their ARPA proposals were supposed to fund. Because I honestly don't remember.
Well, did we ever get the actual proposals?
I believe we did, but I'm not 100% certain. I may have downloaded, the summary information that the town had, because they had the ARPA approval meetings, so it went through town council, right?
Yeah.
And so there was at least summary information in the town council documents that they were reviewing. I don't know that we ever saw the full proposal that they put. That's true.
So I got one last question,
Okay.
hopefully. So, just dealing with the ordinances, so is it, I know there's been discussion about revising ordinances.
Right.
Is it possible to do them piecemeal rather than try to do a whole rewrite, just to strengthen some of these, regulations that don't address these issues like stick cheese and beer brewers?
So my understanding, and others can speak up with their understandings, but my understanding is, the last meeting, which 2 months ago, Greg sort of took us through what the process was to revise or to get a new ordinance approved. I think it has to go through both town council and RTM.
No.
And so my understanding is we could, propose whatever we wanted. And one of my questions, we actually voted several meetings ago, 6 months ago or something, to modify the high strength formula, changing one number in it. And you know, so to me, it's always been an issue. Does it make most sense to just do something targeted as opposed to revising the whole ordinance? And I would certainly be in favor of going forward with something targeted. You know, unless people have, I mean, it doesn't seem like you and Greg and the, you know, have had a lot of time to spend on revising the ordinance, you know, broadly. And so doing a targeted revision would certainly make sense to me. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think the way to do it is to, first of all, decide what we want to target and how we want it, what we want done. And then I get the town attorney to just, you know, write up some amendments to the current code. And the question, of course, is whether or not the town council and the RTM will pay any attention once we ask them to do something. But that would be at least the initial way to do it. And it doesn't sound like it would be all that terribly complicated if we just focus on certain things.
Right, but you were thinking in terms of putting in some sort of explicit requirement about monitoring the sewage outflow.
Right, I mean, just something to put businesses aware that if they're gonna be generating that, and those business owners would know what it is, that there would be an expectation
Right.
of equipment and monitoring.
So that makes sense to me. I guess the one thing that, you know, I have, even though we've talked about it several times, that I remain unclear on is differentiating, because there are the state or federal requirements that, I mean, you have one business, at least in town, right, that monitors both the flow and the strength, right?
Yes,
I can't think of their name, but
broadcasters does.
yeah.
The subbase does to an extent.
So, but they're doing that, I believe, under probably state implementation of federal, or that was purely voluntary?
It's just Groton. I don't think any of the state or federals get involved with, how we bill.
No, not for the billing, but
But
for
for the
the,
strength, right,
for the
there,
strain.
there are pollutants that state monitors.
Right, I believe it's covered by state, there's outflow either contains chemicals or whatever that leads or is of sufficient volume, it probably led to it being covered by state regulation.
But you can word our code in such a way that it takes into account the fact that there might be some people who are covered by favoring, you know, to the
Sure.
extent that, you know, that somebody is not required by the state regulations to have it, we should require it, but as a town matter. I mean, I guess the question then would be, and I'm not sure about this, maybe Meredith has an opinion, about whether or not you can impose it on sort of like pre-existing use, somebody who's already doing business when there was no such requirement. You could certainly require it for somebody establishing a new business. Seems to me that wouldn't be a problem. Question is whether it would be okay to do it to somebody. You know, it's sort of like zoning where you can't say, okay, this is only residential, so there's a business there, you can't have a business anymore. There's the prior existing use. So I don't know whether that kind of concept would apply to something like this. I don't know.
I have a feeling, John, and I'm really off the cuff, that this is different because it applies to services that might not have been provided at one time, but now are. Whereas,
Right, I sort of think you're right, but I'm not sure.
yeah, I'm not either.
That's what we pay the town attorney for.
Who's
Although
the
I'm
town
not
attorney,
sure
by the way?
that I agree with the town attorney when they give her.
Who is the town attorney?
Well, it's Susan Shapiro. I don't know who at the town.
So the person who did the FOIA training was Rick Cody. And he's actually the chair least he was, I don't know if he still is, of the WPCA for stoning. And so I assume that he would be the attorney involved in revising the ordinance, but I don't know that definitely. Okay, so it would be good at the next meeting to have an update on the, you and Greg's thinking around the ordinance. Because that's been on the agenda for, multiple meetings as well.
Would it make sense to have the town attorney write to Mr. Cheese and say, please tell us what your plans are with respect, because they're not really addressing the issue that we've been trying to address if all they're doing is replacing the pipe.
No, if they've got a truck, I'm sorry.
If they've got a truck, then they should tell us.
Even if it's the piping was to implement side
Right,
streaming.
Right,
So don't keep
Yeah.
repeating
Yeah.
that it's irrelevant.
Right.
to
I'm
the
not,
they're
I'm
not
not,
doing
I'm not
it.
suggesting it's irrelevant, but obviously there's still
It's
something.
different than the issue of being able to monitor and bill.
Okay.
right.
That's for us to figure out, both how to do, but also what to talk to them about, because I think unfortunately, we haven't entirely done the best job of talking both about how to change the sewage strength and how to monitor and bill the sewage coming out. I think we tended to focus on what is going to be done to change the sewage.
But do we know what they're doing or?
Go back to the minutes and read them.
Yeah.
My recollection is the request for the piping was in order for them to implement the side streaming. That Beard implemented a certain portion of their side streaming fairly rapidly, and Mr. Cheese couldn't do that because they had to change their plumbing, which had to meet FDA requirements as a food company. So anyway, so we need to have an update next meeting on Beard, on Mystic Cheese, and on the ordinance. Okay, sorry, I'm getting, anything else, or are we done with that? I think there is actually progress being made. It's slow, but I think there's actually progress. Okay, new business, we didn't have any down, so our next meeting is April 9th. And now we have 4 people, so if somebody can't make a meeting, we still have a quorum. Is everybody good with the April 9th?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Would be fine with me if I could read. I'm getting new glasses. I put it down as the 19th.
It's the second Tuesday, right? Second Tuesday of the month.
That was my question. Okay, gotcha.
And it is on the town of Groton calendar on the town website. If you,
Melissa could probably send you the
list of dates
list
if you'd
of
like
dates.
it. Meredith, if there's ever anything you have questions on, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. And
Thank
I
you.
run
like,
Thank you, thank you.
send you the whole list.
Now I just put it in my trusty calendar. God help me if I lose the cell phone or drop it in the toilet again.
Right.
I've lost
Oh.
3 that way. Back pockets are not intended for cell phones.
Really?
I do have a question. I belong to one of the book clubs at the library. It meets at 6:30 on the second Tuesday, which is why, and I live within walking distance of the library, which is why I attended tonight by Zoom. Is that going to be a problem for you going forward, or would you prefer me to be present in person?
I don't have a problem with you coming by Zoom if that's what
No.
you want to do.
Okay. That means I can just jump in the car whenever we're done, and I'll be a little late to my book club, but I'm not gonna be as late as I would be if I had to get in the car at the annex.
Or just think about rescheduling a different day.
No, I don't want to put you out. I'm just asking the question. So,
Okay,
All right, I move we adjourn.
And often, Meredith, we're done very quickly.
I can see, no, I can see that. And
This is a long meeting for us.
I take the minutes for the beautification committee, which is
Ah.
very long. Those are usually 2-hour meetings.
Oh.
And then I type them up. I'm not a member of the committee, but that's what I do. All right. I'll second the motion to adjourn.
I think we're all in favor, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm looking forward to getting to know you as time goes on. See you next month.
You too.